Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. How are we all doing? Hoping well. To be clear, by the way, because everyone's going to have a concern about this one. Orange hoodie. It's not red. It's just the lighting's looking a little bit weird. Yeah, I figured it would be worth it to have, thank you Bimbus Nimbus for going away for a moment, a little bit of a discussion around Angues Kinnear potentially finding his way to Everton, which could be a fairly complicated, confusing thing for Leeds fans to discuss, because I think I have takes on this that a lot of people won't necessarily agree with, but that's okay. Everyone has their own opinion. That's pretty normal. That's how democracy works, man. That's what this is. At the end of the day, we Democrats up in here, so it's fine. Yeah. So to summarize the basics of the news, I'm going to try to find various bits and bobs around this so I can provide the best of information without any potential misleadingness. I swear I had one from the YEP, but it seems to be gone. I am back again indeed. Thank you very much, Michael. There we go. Initially reported, I can't remember who by, but in this case, it was reported by Joe Donoghue for the Yorkshire Evening Post, with the headline, long-serving Leeds United board member reportedly a target for major role at New Look Everton. Everton are doing a big rejig because I believe they've got new ownership, maybe. At the very least, they're moving into a new stadium. They're going to do what they can around the squad to make sure that it is in the best possible condition to keep that stadium in the Premier League. And they're going to ultimately be sort of pushing to rework things behind the scenes. So, in this specific instance, it involves having a little bit of a sniff around Angues Kinnear. Having been taken over by the Friedkin Group, an American firm with experience in European sport, they're targeting a new CEO because Denise Barrett Baxendale left 2 summers ago, who was the actual chief executive, and they've sort of, in the time since, chucked some people in as temporaries and make sure that everything's going to work out, and it isn't necessarily going to work out for them. And that's why they are in a position where they are looking for a new CEO, and the current person that they are looking at is Angues Kinnear, which is a confusing little situation for us to be in, because the way that Everton fans are taking this on is they are looking at what Leeds fans are saying and saying, okay, so what does this actually mean for us? And having a look at a Everton News, this is such a weird website, everton.news. How did you get Everton News as your website? Is quite simply taken into account the fact that Leeds fans are happy Angus could be joining Everton, including various people saying, I'd drive him there myself. Yes, please, Everton. Last of a bad bunch. Please let this happen, please. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And I would like to counter this sort of narrative. Hello, by the way, Carol. And hello, Sean, who says, the only good thing about Kinnear is a square ball interview. Right. This is where I think it is useful to have a bit of a counter discussion. A discussion that isn't just, we were relegated under him, get rid. Or, I don't personally like him, get rid. Because I think it's beyond that. Because I think when you're looking at the way a chief executive does their job, you're not just looking at how the team's performing on the pitch. You're looking at a bunch of other stuff. And in this specific instance, the thing that I'm looking at is how we've performed commercially in the years since we got Angues Kinnear on board. And how we've performed commercially is pretty fucking well, right? I mean, there's no way that you can deny that. We've gone from, who was our sponsor in that season? I'm going to check the football kit archive to see who was sponsoring us immediately before Kinnear came in. Right, okay. So right before Kinnear came in, which I believe would be the 16-17 season, something along those lines. In 15-16, we didn't have a sponsor. In 16-17, sponsored by 32 Red, which admittedly not the best of sponsors because gambling sponsor, but that's fine because it's the championship, and a lot of the time the only sponsors that you can realistically get in the championship are gambling sponsors. Then got into the Premier League, again, SBO top, dodgy sponsor, but in terms of commercially, the value of that shirt sponsorship shot up, not only because of Premier League stuff, but because the club had gained in reputation, which is a really good thing. You got to keep in mind that past year we won a FIFA Fair Play Award, which you don't typically get if you're Leeds United, because people tend to despise us. Then following SBO Top, you get Boxed, which is like a nationally recognised brand. Admittedly, it's not the best of brands, but you're a championship side again. The benefit of going to Boxed is you're again going away from the gambling sponsorship, so there's a moral side to this as well. And then you get the biggie. Then you get the big sort of commercial win that has happened for Angues Kinnear in his time at Leeds United. You get the Red Bull deal. And as someone that is working in sort of commercial stuff, the way that you are measured is the way that you market the assets, in this case, Leeds United, is the financial value that you bring to the club and the future prospects that you bring to the club. Looking at the way that we've been marketed, Leeds United are currently perceived as one of the biggest clubs in the country, having spent a decent amount of time, 3 years, in the Premier League. Should have been longer, which is absolutely not a bad step to take. That is a step fully in the right direction. 2, in terms of monetization, that's gone ridiculously well. I don't know the specific numbers behind the Red Bull deal. We will not know behind the Red Bull deal until the next financial accounts come out. But that's massive. And in theory, Red Bull could have looked at so many different teams. They could have gone to Everton, perfect example. Could have gone to Leicester, could have gone to a Fulham, could have gone to so many different places. But we were able to sell ourselves as the project for them to go for. And I'm just going to address this one, Sean, because you're doing Sean things again. The Red Bull deal that could mean we could end up being Red Bull Leeds can't wait. That's not a thing. You know that, right? You know that there are many, many laws that stop that being a thing. It won't happen. And to jump to that being the worst possible thing is very Leeds, I think. It was always on the cards once they got their feet well and truly under the table. Time for Kinnear to move on. I think that might be the case. Yeah, I think it might be a case of they had him for the transitional period, and now they've had him for a further 18 months. They're thinking, okay, we can get our own guys in now. And that's fair enough. And if he wants to go, he wants to go, and that's fine. But I think a lot of the critique that's coming out in his direction entirely is weird. Because the majority of what a CEO does is the behind-the-scenes stuff, is the managing sponsorship deals and renting out stadiums and all that kind of stuff. And to have a look at our club and to honestly try and say that day to day Leeds are a worse run club now than they were when Angues Kinnear came on board is lying to yourself. Is just dishonest. Like, we're firmly heading in the right direction. And on this one, again, I think he explained this one in the Square Ball interview. That's stuff that he got from Adidas's data. Like, in terms of yellow shirts in his time at Leeds, and I can kind of understand his argument, right? Because the 18-19 third shirt presumably didn't do good numbers. Because, admittedly, it was quite hard for it because it was up against the bus seat. And the bus seat, I really like that kit. And the home kit from that season, I really like that kit. But presumably the 18-19 third shirt didn't sell realistically. And then you scroll through and you get to 22-23 and there was a yellow shirt. Admittedly, it was the big spunky dick kit. But that, again, won't have sold well because it looked like that. So I can completely understand why, combining his experience at Leeds United and the data gotten from Adidas, he looks at that and goes, not great. But now, what matters is learning, is seeing that this season's has done quite well and going, okay, cool, that can be in the rotation. Because you can't just have 2 colours for like kits. That's not how things work nowadays. You've got to have like a rotation of kits and like, cool, a light blue, a dark blue, a yellow, and a historic looking one. So, for example, looking back for the historic looking one, first season we're in the Premier League. The like green dark blue one being the historic instance. 1819 yellow third wasn't released till Christmas, hence the lower sales in limited supply. Honestly, I had that as a complete stab in the dark guess, but I didn't know that it sold less. So honestly, I'm kind of just proud that I got the stab in the dark right more than anything. But yeah, it's a case of like, and he was wrong on that. Let's be honest. Like the away kit has done ridiculous numbers this season, and there is also, hey Joe, but the away kit will have done absolutely ridiculous numbers, like without a doubt. Okay, I was going to get to my next point, but I've just had a thought. Is there potentially like a scarcity conversation? Scarcity. Yes. Is there a scarcity conversation to be had on that? Because like, were we all pumped for the yellow kit because it had been so long without a yellow kit, so it felt a little bit more special? I'm wondering if there's a little bit to that. It's not like an important side note. It's just a sort of, but like looking a little bit further, it's a situation where again he went on the square ball and was like, "Yeah, I was wrong on that actually," which is something that is a pretty good thing that like the vast majority of club CEOs just don't do. So, in fact, I will do a little bit of a Google search. Okay, this is the least useful page that I've seen in quite some time. Never mind. But it's something that you also, I'd rather someone who admits they're wrong than double down on incorrect facts. Yes, this is the perfect little segue into the next bit. Thank you, Joe. I know you've done that by accident, but I'm still going to thank you for it. This is one of the important bits as well. It's not only that he was doing CEO things and doing them quite well, because from a financial standpoint, again, we are better financially right now and we are going forwards quite reasonably well. But on the sort of accepting that he can be wrong and actually having a conversation with fans, it's quite good because we saw very, very early in the ownership of Leeds United under Andrea Retrazzani that it was very, very easy for a club to, in theory, say, and we've consulted with the fans and we've decided to do a thing. And everyone looks at it and goes, that's horrific, let's not do that. And that, I think, is the first step of this sort of evolution of thinking of Kinnear as CEO, where he's gone from, we were vastly wrong then and we didn't listen to the fans. And for the last 3 years, I think, he's done the stuff on the square ball. And having done the square ball stuff, we now have a CEO that does what a lot of Premier League CEOs don't do, what I don't think any other Championship CEOs do, which is have a dialogue with the fans. And you've also got that dialogue coming through the Supporters Advisory Board stuff that I covered in a video last week, which is, again, something that means that the fans' voices are being heard more and more in the club, and that is something that didn't exist, or at least didn't exist to such an extent when he came in. So I think it's a situation where it's very easy as a fan to look at what's going on right now and get frustrated and think, oh, the Red Bull stuff, where could that go? We sold a lot of players. We've not spent all of that money, which, again, I think is primarily a PSR thing, or at the very least holding some money back in the event that we go up. I don't know. I'm assuming there's reasons. And it's very easy to get carried away with the negative stuff without realizing that the positive stuff is just the sort of quiet squirreling away stuff that happens in the background, which, is still important stuff. There's this as well. He also walks around the pitch pretty much regularly and happy to talk to fans. Genuinely seems relaxed and connected with the fans. He is. And on the connected with the fans front, I saw on Joe's stream earlier. Not me, Joe. I'm not having a moment from the film Split, but Joe Wainman's stream earlier, in which he was having a little bit of a chat about this situation because it happened whilst he was on stream. And he specifically mentioned going on a charity walk with him. I think it was the Yorkshire Three Peaks, and him being just a lovely dude. Last year at the playoff final down at Wembley, he spent a significant chunk of the pre-match, like a couple of hours, just hanging out in a pub with some Leeds fans. I know this because I was in that pub with those Leeds fans. And he's just happy to be sort of a part of the conversation, a part of what's going on at Leeds. And the big worry for me is when you're not doing that anymore. When you're in a position where you've not got that same CEO and you get another CEO in. One, there is a reason that clubs like Everton are sniffing around him, because he's someone that's proven to be a fairly competent chief executive, someone that does the backroom stuff to a very, very high level, which is a reason that obviously other clubs are going to want to recruit him because they want to be run quite well. With, at the same time, anyone else that we do get in hasn't learned those same lessons. Maybe they have at another club, but they've not become a part of the community in the same way. They don't know the I hate the phrase so much, but I primarily hate it when it comes to managers. They don't know the club. Because at the end of the day, in any sort of business, in any organization, you're going to get little quirks, little bits of process that don't make sense to someone that's coming in from the outside. You're going to have little fan groups that are reliable to have conversations with, and you can have other ones that are just looking to get mad. And knowing which of those conversations it's productive to have is something that you get through experience and you get through being around for a while. And I think I'm in a spot that a lot of Leeds fans aren't at the minute, which is, if possible, it'd be quite nice if Angues Kinnear could stick around. Because we're also in a period of doing various contracts. So Junior Firpo, I would argue, could do with a new contract because he is a decent enough player for us right now and has proven that under Daniel Farke's system looks okay enough to be given a shot in the Premier League. But when you're cycling out a CEO and cycling in a new one, is that something that gets left at the wayside? It's a bit complex. It's very sort of difficult to understand because, again, like this isn't a short recruitment process because the company that has been seeking out Angues Kinnear has presumably been at this for quite some time. The last permanent CEO at Everton was 2 years ago. And admittedly, yeah, they've gone through an ownership change in that time. But that still shows that this isn't like a corner shop being like, we want someone to man the till. This is big stuff, and you need someone with a decent amount of experience. And that's why I'm in the spot of like, can we just keep him? Because he knows what he's doing. He does the job to a decent standard. He's a nice enough dude. I don't know. It's complicated, is the position I'm in. And I think a lot of people are taking this as being a lot more black and white than it is in reality. And that's something that I think we should really look to avoid. Because the more black and white we see situations, the more trouble that we're going to put ourselves into. Because we're going to get ourselves into narratives that don't hugely make sense. And I know that as a fan base, we tend to do that quite often, but I'd quite like us to not. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to whack up a banner very, very quickly. What do you think of the Kinnear to Everton situation? And I'm going to whack up the banner and we're going to have a little bit of a wider conversation about it. If anyone has any opinions, shout them at me. Ideally, not shout them. Ideally, type them. Because if you shout them, I don't think I'm going to hear you. Unless you're the next door neighbour. They are pretty mysterious, so you could be the next door neighbour. But yeah, if anyone has any specific opinions on the Kinnear stuff, just whack them in the chat. I am still firmly in the camp of it's probably worth keeping him around. But I don't know, it's tricky, very difficult. Any investor attaching themselves to Rangers in any shape or form needs their head looked at. Toxic club, toxic sport, lost 120 million in 13 years. I feel like you might have a bias, so I'm sure. If he goes, Harrison won't move there. He knows how bad it is. How do you mean? Sorry, are you saying that Angus being the CEO at Everton would be enough for Jack Harrison to say that he doesn't want to be at Everton anymore? Because that feels incredibly drastic as a take. That feels like a weird one. 49ers must have known about this joke. Probably. But it's one of those, isn't it? Where, and it depends on how much of this is coming from Kinnear's side at the same time. And like, if I'm Angus and I'm getting approached by Everton, I kind of get it if he wants to go. Like, I mean, Angus won't want him. Okay, that one makes more sense. But I kind of understand it if he wants to go, because Leeds will probably be a Premier League club next season. I'm not going to call it 100% because it isn't, but Leeds are likely going to be a Premier League club next season. Everton haven't left the top tier since it was called the Premier League. Will have vast assets moving into a new stadium. And it's one of those situations where he has a skill set that is sort of designed for that. And like, whilst we are working on our own sort of stadium expansion stuff, and it would be really good to have Kinnear around for that, because I think, he was at Arsenal for the Emirates stuff, I think. It'd be real good for him, I think, if he does want that move. And I'd understand it, and I wouldn't blame him for it. But yeah. He might not even want to leave. This is a very good point. But, and there is a reason that this is a but, because it's a pretty big but. If you're Angus right now, have Leeds fans given you a reason to want to stay? Is the follow-up question. Because if you're realistically working in a job, and then the majority of your customers, after a little bit of news comes out about you potentially moving, go, oh, thank God for that. That's not going to be the biggest sort of like indication of I should stay here because this is going to be a good place for me. That puts you in a position of maybe I do move because everyone seems to not like me here, which I think is potentially a little bit of an issue for us retaining Kinnear. I would love to keep him because from like all of the measurable metrics, he's done a pretty decent job. I don't know. Wasn't he involved in the West Ham move, or was that after his time? That is a good question. I'll have a look. Okay, he was the sporting director between November 2013 and June 2017. West Ham Stadium move was in 2016. Yeah, Kinnear did that one as well. So he's quite good at stadium stuff. And considering we are about to do a stadium stuff, that'd be nice, I think, to have him stick about. Leeds have had some charlatans as owners, not saying 49ers are, but it's about profit, how much are they willing to invest. If you own a football club, your profit does not come from operational stuff year to year. It just doesn't. Very, very few football clubs operate on profit. Football club annual profit Premier League. I'm going to see if I can find the tables. No, I don't want that. I don't want revenue. Yeah, revenue. Can we just have a nice little cheeky profit loss? There we go. Right. In the Premier League, in 22-23, there were a grand total of 3 clubs that made a profit. Bournemouth, Man City, Brighton. Man City, I don't know if you can count them because Man City. You don't profit year to year. when you own a football club, the way that you profit is you've bought an asset. So in this specific instance, you buy Leeds United for, I think it was £170 million or something like that. You improve the squad, you get the club into the Premier League, and that asset shoots up in value. So if I have a quick search, football clubs by value. Why not? We'll have a look at the Forbes valuation, shall we? We'll have a look at Premier League ones. So Brighton, right now, currently worth $730 million. Fulham, 790 million. Crystal Palace, 780 million. Aston Villa, 800 million. You're in a very interesting position where owners will invest enough to get the club up, and that's where their profit comes in, because the club's value has increased, which will also happen when the stadium gets bigger, because you will be making more money year on year, which makes it a more valuable asset, because if you own that and it's earning more money, wonderful. That's the way that they make profit. But I don't know. I believe when we go up 49 sold the club, I would imagine in the region of 350 to 400 million, netting a 200 million profit with also what they made in last year's sales, enough profit to buy Rangers. 1 second. The cat wants to get out of the room. Hello. Go on. Okay. Right. Wait. There's maybe a case for that. But I think the 49ers have, or at least 49ers enterprises, hold on, there we go, have enough cash as is in order to get that job done anyway. It feels like it's not necessarily going to be a problem for 49ers enterprises to have a look at Rangers. I don't know how much Rangers are worth. I can't tell. No, I can find squad value stuff, but I don't know. But it's a viable purchase for them to make already. It's not like it's vast amounts of cash that they don't have that they need to do a big raise for. Like the $900 million thing isn't going to be so they can have enough money to buy Rangers, because they're just like, it's not going to cost that much. And the people that are pointing towards that and saying that, look, they're gearing up for a big purchase, that's not necessarily the case. As far as I know, it's the 49ers selling 10% of themselves or whatever that is. That could honestly just go to operating costs for NFL things, because NFL is not cheap. The wages there are ridiculous, and the squad size is similarly ridiculous. So it's a complicated one. You are right; it will definitely be more than £1. Although, apparently they issued shares for 1p each, which is quite interesting a few years back. But well. Toodaloo. But yeah, I firmly believe that it would be in Kinnear's best interests to remain at the club. I firmly believe it's in our best interest to try and keep him at the club, because he knows how things work here. And again, I hate that he knows the club kind of thing, but it's relevant in this specific instance. And I also feel like the Rangers thing isn't going to affect us in the slightest, because I think if it did, then it would be very weird. Anyway, I'm going to walk us over to Questions Corner, because Questions Corner is the place we all love to be, where you guys throw any questions that you have at us, and we can have a little bit of discussion about everything, and that'd be absolutely lovely. But to remain in the Premier League means spending huge on transfers each window. Are they prepared for that? It can, but it can also mean profiting big on transfers if you do it right. So you do spend big on signing players, absolutely, no doubt. But if you look at the way that our signings have gone recently and our sales have gone recently, we're in a spot where that's not necessarily going to be that much of a harm. So let's think of specifics. Crescencio Somerville was either £1.5 million or free. I know he and Pascal both came from Eredivisie youth setups, and one of them was each of them. But either way, we sold him for a lot of money. Georgie was an expensive purchase, but we profited on him. And it's about, if they trust their recruitment enough, then yeah, sure, you put money in for transfers, but your revenues are also bigger. So it's a balancing act of, if you do it right, Premier League ownership can be really, really good for you. And I think that's probably where it's going to be going. Yeah, just look at Brighton. The way that Brighton are run at the minute is ridiculously good. And if you have a look at our recent recruitment and the players that we've signed and the amount that we've signed them for, I think we've done really well at like signing players that are valued less than we would be able to sell them for. Like, look at Tanaka. If anyone thinks that we will make a loss on Tanaka, then I would like some of what you're on, because it sounds like some good stuff. And it's about replicating that going forwards. And there's a further little consideration as well of, it's not just 49ers Enterprises that own a stake in Leeds United right now. It's also the York family. And I'm going to have a very, very quick... just going to find the thing. Right, there we go. Yeah, it's currently shared between the Yorks and 49ers and Red Bull. But we've also got investors from several other areas, which include Pete Lowy, who is Australian billionaire, who has some interest in that. So Pete Lowy, who Australian billionaire that is a Leeds fan, isn't going to say, Rangers get Europa League football though, and make the leap. He's not going to be back in that, which is why I don't think it's a case of one or the other. And there's an interesting little quirk as well that I need to double check. But what I saw recently was that there's a limit on the amount that you can purchase of a Scottish club or something along those lines. Like, you can max out at like 33% ownership or something like that. It might just be a Rangersy thing. But again, that's something that says it wouldn't be a complete buyout and they wouldn't need to abandon doing Leeds, which again would be a bad idea, because I think Leeds is going quite well for them. And Leeds is also doing really well for them from like a marketing perspective. Like, if you're 49ers Enterprises right now, part of the reason you've got countless celebrities that are part of your investment fund is in part because of Leeds United. Like, Larry Nance is a Leeds fan now because he's part of 49ers like stuff. So I think that's all sort of adding up and adding up and adding up, and I think there's enough reasons combined to say that, like, even if they do get a stake of Rangers, you're not going to say, stuff Leeds, because I think that would just be a bad idea. So I don't think there's a question of who will be the main club, because I don't think it's a situation that will warrant having a main club. And can you ask me at 10 p.m. on Monday evening? Because that's when I'll have an idea. At the moment, I want to say yes. If we beat Sheffield United, I want to say yes. If we do a good performance and draw against Sheffield United, I want to say yes. Sorry, I want to say yes anyway, but it's hard to do. But it will look more viable if we beat Sheffield United. Leeds to be a truly big club following the global football group model might be a necessary evil. Rangers will also never be in the Premier Club in a portfolio, impossible in the SPL. Oh, this is my favourite thing that's happened, right? So I did my video this morning about the 49ers and Rangers thing, because I was like, cool, this is a thing that I can like have a little bit of a chat about. There are headlines that don't make any sense. Let's break down what those headlines are. Let's explain why they are not accurate, and we will eventually get to a position where everything makes a little bit more sense. So I did that, And I didn't realise one thing. And said thing that I didn't realise was that would slightly poke the Rangers fans. And oh my, that comment section is a war zone. It's just a war zone of, because I think at one point I said that like Fulham would probably beat Rangers because like Scottish Premier League ain't great. It's not the hotbed of talent that like a lot of people think it is. They didn't like that one. They didn't like that one bit. Hold on, I'm just going to check Flash Score actually and have a quick look at Rangers. The Scottish Premiership. Rangers against St Mirren. Let's have a look at the standings. I don't want the league standings, but on that note, on league standings, 26 matches into the season, and already they are very, very probably getting European football again. So that's a sign of a powerful league, isn't it? The power of you mean the power to be abused by Scottish fans? Let's have a look. Europa League phase. How did they do? Rangers in the league phase came 8th, including a loss to Scum, draw with Spurs, draw with Olympiacos. Like, the Premier League is, at the very least, mid-table Premier League is Rangers and Celtic standard. I've changed my mind on this one now. He's had a big old downturn. Just set them off doesn't take very much. Yeah, a little bit. Let's have a look at what else has been said on the Rangers stuff. I'm a big fan that there are some Leeds fans in there as well, just having a little bit of a poke and seeing what they can get the Rangers fans to say, including a guy that said, I don't mind Rangers being our feeder club, which was brave. Because he was met with an angry Scotsman. Rangers fan. This was a big one as well. Rangers wouldn't last a season in the Championship in England. They only have Celtic to beat up here. If they can't beat the likes of St Johnstone, Ross County, and others, there's no way they could compete against most of the Championship teams. This is why I'm not touching this one. Here's a question. Why on earth did Eustace go to Derby? I believe Eustace found his way to Derby. It's an interesting one. What I saw was that he would rather want to be like back with family and that kind of vibe, and I completely understand that. Like, wanting to work close to your family whilst being a football manager is a thing that you can do, and that makes sense. And at the same time, Derby wouldn't be offering like no money; it'd still be earning reasonable amounts. I can't be mad at him. Like, it makes sense. Again, it's not my job to be mad at him, to be completely honest with you, because it doesn't affect me in the slightest. Who would I take from Rangers? That's a hell of a question. Oh, I don't want the Rangers fans to find this if I keep saying their name. Is it harsh to say I wouldn't? Because I quite like where we're at right now. I really like our current first 11. Like, maybe a few years ago I would have said James Tavernier because he came through our academy and would have been a good addition, but yeah. Kemar Roof gone to Derby. That was weird to me. I don't know what's gone on with his career recently, but it's gone a little bit hanky-janky. If Rangers or Celtic were in the English Premier League, how long before they make top 6 with the extra money? They don't. I don't think. I don't think they do. I think mid-table, lower, like maybe relegation scrap is roughly where you'd find them. At least for the first season. Like maybe when the Premier League money kicks in, they do a little bit better. Because again, massive like revenues and stuff like that, because Ibrox is colossal. But do they stay in the Premier League long enough to do that? I don't think so. That's where it gets a little bit difficult. I don't think they break the top six, to be honest with you. I take Jota from Celtic. Is Jota still at Celtic? Where are you? I can't find him. Oh, yeah. Wait, did he leave? He might have left. Did he move to Rennes or did he move from Rennes? I think he moved to Rennes. Yeah. No, he's not there anymore. Oh, he just went back. Okay, fair enough. But yeah. I appreciate the bait that you're trying to put out, by the way. Manchester is blue vaping. Okay, that's your opinion. That's fine. You know what isn't an opinion that's fine? This one, because it's wrong. Home form will be hostile for any club going to Glasgow. Yeah, maybe. But I still don't know if they break top six. That's where the concern is for me. Like maybe they have like an Aston Villa or Forest season where things happen for them, but no. Let's not talk Ryan Kent. We don't like talking Ryan Kent. Not even a little bit. Not even as a joke. Ryan Kent is the world which we do not wish to return to. I just need to accept that. Go over to there. Right, okay. Are you watch the Premier League? You should sign Alex Palmer. What? What? No. Because we can find better and we will sign better and it'll all be all good. It's all fine. I wonder what else people have said in that comment section. Oh, I loved this one. If I may. A banger of a comment from Vintage Clips RF7KT. I'm considering buying the Joe Blackburn channel. Pony up. Does that mean we're in talks? Here's the thing. There would be no need for talks if I was interested in buying Rangers. There would. You'd need to get some idea that people are like interested in selling to you, first of all. All I need to do is instruct my broker to acquire shares which are available on the open market. There won't be a majority worth of shares available on the open market, but fine. No brass band, no high-level talks, or sensational headlines required. That's not how modern business works. But blooming people saying things. Anyway, I'm going to hop back to Questions Corner and do one more quick question if anyone has any. And then I'm going to call the stream there because I got bits and bobs to do this evening. It should be quite fun, but hopefully it does not take too long. I'll record the video for tomorrow as well, which, again, should be all right. 1 sec. And hopefully I've got this question right as well. Watch the videos to the end and you'll find out what the questions are. It's great. What 3 signings would you make when we make the Premier League? Trafford, Abraham, and 10. We'll need more than 3. That's the issue. 10 striker. No, 10 keeper. Left back, just in case. Is what I go with. Bates, GFH, Cellino, who's the worst owners? I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan during these times. I will say Cellino is the best of the three because it was a banter era. Then GFH, then Bates, because I just remember not liking Ken Bates. And the final question of the stream: advice on returning to the UK this weekend after a year in Thailand. Don't know. It'd be fine. On this one, if they do have an interest in buying you, they are reasonably good owners. People's concern is around them potentially wanting to leave owning Leeds, which I don't think will happen. I think they will own a stake in both. They're a good bunch. They do a decent enough job and are very good organisationally and everything. So, bosh. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream now. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, just pop a like on it. Subscribe if you're not yet. That's always really appreciated. And you could even be a channel member. You get things like videos early and everything. It's really fun. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. I will see you later. Toodaloo. And now it's